Welcome, everyone. Happy Sunday. I'm the Gray Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for Sunday, April 27th, 2025. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? Can I please have the first two cards in our 5-card spread for today? First two cards we are starting our day off with today is Page of Swords in combination with the Death card in its reversal. That makes a lot of sense for what we've been sensing that's happening right now. You know, I gotta say, there's something really beautiful about this particular new moon in Taurus. And the reason I'm going to talk about that is, and we got to talk a little bit here. We got to talk a little bit about working through the context of change, because here's the thing, and I always point this out with like a lot of lovingness towards Taurus that have to go through this. Taurus have a very difficult relationship with change, because and the best way I like to describe Taurus energy when it comes to change is I always picture Garth from Wayne's World. Do you know like that scene where like someone comes up to Garth and like tries to talk to them about like something that's happening, some change that's going to occur, and Garth has got like a clock and he just starts hitting the clock, and then he looks at the person and goes, "We fear change," right? It's a lot of that it's a lot of that type of energy. And what's interesting about it is we see this a lot. We see this a lot with those who have to work through Taurus lessons, because Taurus often, and this is what's beautiful about it, because we've also seen that there's a lot of this that happens, and it's interesting because it has to do with Mercury energy. You know, the lesson that we see and is the fact that change can bring about comfort that we haven't even recognized or identified. But there is a paradox of comfort that we often navigate, which is when we're feeling energetically comfortable. The only way we can find out if there's a deeper level of comfort that we can reach on something is if we get pushed out of our comfort zone. Okay? Like we have to push our own envelopes to a certain extent. And this is why I just want to point out, this is why Mercury retrogrades are actually like here to help us, because again, the whole point of a Mercury retrograde is not just to break everything. It helps us recognize the difference between a groove and a rut, right? Because sometimes the only time you understand that comfortability point is if you return back into it, right? A groove is effectively something that you could do forever. Right? It's something that you're like, I love this song, right? It's a lot of that feeling that you build as it relates to comfortability, right? But a rut, what's a rut? A rut is something that feels like it's stagnant. It feels energetically heavy. It feels like it bogs us down. It feels like it's like the weight that we build into in that context. And so we identify that there's a lot, I keep on hearing that there's something really important about this new moon in Taurus, because it feels like the heart opening that is a road opener. And what are we talking about with the heart opening that is a road opener? Because and we've talked a lot about this, when we identify and recognize what we're holding on to, right? It helps us understand the nature of the weight of what we carry. And sometimes that weight is something that is significant. It's something that is important. It is something that we understand the heaviness of something that we carry. And when we understand the nature of why something is energetically important, it becomes an honor to carry it, right? Like we carry it forward and we don't feel like it's a drag. We feel like it's, I keep on hearing, it's an honor to carry something of significance, right? Whereas often when we're holding on to something that feels like it's not energetically serving us, one of the ways we can identify that it's not serving us is if we start feeling bitter under its weight, right? because a lot of that bitterness, I keep on, like the message that was coming through yesterday that was really beautiful is trauma is not conditional, right? The things that happen to us, there's a certain limitation to what it is that we can navigate through. Bitterness is the energetic choice in relationality to how we carry something, right? Because bitterness is the choice of carrying trauma in a way that it hurts you every day, like more and more. And so I just keep on seeing that there's a lot of, like, I feel like there's like a lot of this work that's happening with this new moon in trying to release bitterness, because it's the understanding that the bitterness doesn't fix anything. It just hurts the self in the process. And this is having a different impact depending upon where one is on the frequency cycles. But I feel like that's an overarching theme that's happening right now with a lot of that new moon, like this new moon in Taurus energy. Now, center card for the today's spread before we start digging into how it's impacting each of the energies within the frequencies, and this is what we keep on, and like the thing is about it. And I keep on seeing like the thing, and I want to describe this. Like when we talk about I keep on hearing the heart opening that's a road opening, is it talks about the level or degree of compassion, right? And when we're building into that space of possibility, I almost see that there's a limitation point that's reached in relationality to how one feels about the self. Right? There's a lot of this, like I keep on seeing that there's a lot of this growth that's happening right now on the internal journey right now. There's a lot of that definition of registering and recognizing, I keep on seeing the difference between the exquisite insistence, something that we hold onto because it helps us understand and see ourselves more clearly, versus those situations or circumstances that we feel that we're holding on to something that is just hurting us. Now, this is why I saw coming out of some of that eclipse cycle, there may have been a lot of closing out of energetic cycles, particularly in relationality to relationships, where it felt like the reason something was going forward was because another person kept on feeling it was conditional on seeing perfection within it. This is why I keep on getting that there's this like deep desire right now to move into a space of authenticity, because for a lot of the energy and separation, recognizing that perfection is never found, right? Perfection is a cardinal direction. Perfection is something that we strive for. It's something that we reach for, but it's also something that, like, again, often another will identify as the reason why another person doesn't desire to go forward. This is why I see that a lot of the energy right now in separation is embodying that magician energy, because this is the energy that says to themselves as they do so that they're no longer holding that aspect of perfection outside of the self, right? Because when we start to release the illusion of rejection, right? And when we honor our own journey, when we are intentional in who we are, then we understand that we're not for everybody. we understand that not everybody might be like in the alignment or in accordance with what they find there. But this is what's beautiful about that. And this is why you often see those in spiritual journeys that talk about non-attachment. It's not about non-attachment. It's just not caring what other people think about you so much. It's not about non-attachment. It's about like saying respectfully, your opinion as it relates to my energy is not my business, right? Like that's what we mean by non-attachment. You stop worrying so much about others putting that energetic judgment on the self, because you're carrying that within the self. You're moving in alignment with one's own sense of understanding. So I just keep on seeing that, like, a lot of that, I keep on hearing like this feels like a very recalibrating full moon, like new moon. It almost feels like a new moon, because it's like the recalibration point is understanding and coming into the space of appreciating and honoring the self and what it takes to be intentional. And when we build into that, and I keep on hearing that this is why I see a lot of this like energy right now in separation, kind of being in this like what you see is what you get kind of mentality as it relates to partnership, because that's not the energy that's working. That's the energy that isn't saying to one another, I refuse to change. This is the energy that says, I'm always changing, right? I'm always changing in accordance with what I feel is in alignment, that's in alignment to the self, right? But that's the energy that says to one another that's the ability that understands the difference between being able to take a note, right? The ability to take something that is energetically important, right? That constructive criticism that allows one to move into the pathwork of the deeper understanding of the self, versus those energetic situations where another person is trying to like move you into something that you feel like you're not, right? It's like working in that context of uncomfortability. So I just keep on seeing that there's something about this process that's happening for the energy in separation. And I keep on seeing the energy. And I was laughing about this yesterday, because this is the thing that's funny about it. If this is the energy that's going, I'm going into my villain era, and the higher self is like, how are you going into your villain era? And the energy is going, I don't care what people think about me. And the higher self is like, it's not, that's not a negative thing. Like, that's not a negative thing. That's the ability to be appreciative of oneself, right? But it's that I keep on seeing, like, it's that energetic shedding of others' expectations that often feels like, and I keep on hearing the energy in separation has gotten the ick of trying to meet energetic standards outside of the self that don't feel like they move one towards oneself. Now, for the energy coming into divine union right now, these are those chariot partnerships that we saw that were occurring. Yeah, we've got here the Empress in its reversal in combination with our Five of Swords in its upright. This is a little bit rough right now. Why are we seeing that for some of the energy coming into divine union? Some of this energy right now, this is a little bit rough, because I'm telling you, we talked a little bit about this in the last few days of reading. A lot of this energy is finally, the chariot partnerships are feeling the gift of being in a relationship that creates enough of a solid foundation to be able to go on the journey inwards. And often, when we're carrying trauma that we don't even realize we're carrying, right? I keep on getting the message, you can't bandage something on the battlefield. This is what we talk about with the fact that sometimes we are holding on to trauma that we didn't even know was there. Because those moments or those experiences where we finally feel the security of a healthy partnership and we start to get into that heart opening, what are the first things that spill out? Pain, right? Hurt, like the things we've been carrying inside of us that we didn't even know were there. Like, those are often the first things that spill out. So I almost feel like there's a little bit of this energy that is navigating the deepened intimacy of being in a space of safety that can sometimes feel triggering, because it's in that moment of being triggered that you're able to recognize just how much you've experienced or just how much you've energetically gone through, right? It can be, I keep on hearing, it can be very like it's a lot of that, like, I want to say it's giving me a lot of energy, like, it feels like almost like flashbacks. It feels a bit like it's like the stress that you've been carrying that you didn't even know that you were carrying to a certain extent. While for masculine, the stress of distress that you could not express until you were in a sanctuary that allowed it safe to be able to articulate upon it. While for masculine, and it's like, whew, like it's giving like there's gonna be a lot of that, like, ooh, it's giving me a lot of that. Like it's giving me a lot of like, what was that kind of thing. like shaking it out kind of energy. While for masculine and feminine, deep within divine union right now, this is like for a lot of the energy deep within divine union right now. This is there's heaviness here. There's heaviness because, and I keep on seeing, and we like, here's the thing about it. When you're working towards manifestations, it requires vulnerability. It requires the ability to articulate upon the things that have meaning. And that's why I keep on seeing that this feels like a very bittersweet new moon. Because a lot of that, I want to say like a lot of that bittersweetness to a certain extent is like working on what is possible to change within the self versus working in the context of understanding. I keep on hearing like the ability to, like, it's working through, like, I want to hear like the ability to agree, to disagree, like working through the difference between the adaptability of being able to be energetically open versus working through those moments or modalities of rigidness. So, and that's why you'll remember over the last few days, we've had a lot of those conversations between the identification of trying to move something in a direction that feels like it's energetically positive versus identifying when we're being too energetically stubborn upon something. And it's the conversation between the higher self that says, I'm always willing to sit down and explain why something has energetic meaning, right? Versus those moments that we often encounter in ourselves that say, no, because I want it to be that way, right? Which can often be those indications of something that we know is something that we're working through in the space of the ego. But there's a lot of this, like I keep on seeing, there's like a lot of this tenderness here, or potentially between counterparts talking about things that are sore subjects, right? But again, when you're able to build into the context of healing, you talk, I keep on hearing, when you're willing to heal, you're willing to navigate soreness, because soreness is moving something in the directionality that you aspire something to be, right? Like it is the flexibility that you find there that allows for the capability to change something. Continuing to get clarification between our Page of Swords in its reversal in combination with our Death card in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. There it is. Clarification coming through right now with the Four of Cups in its reversal. I'm not surprised to see this card today because we've had a lot of heavy four energy coming through. And yesterday we ended the reading with that like Four of Swords. And that Four of Swords is some like heavy stuff. You know, like that Four of Swords is like, it's like, it's working in the context of density. But, and that's what I keep on seeing. Like the difference, I keep on hearing the difference between being energetically like, and this is how this is how Leo in Mars and Leo is helping us right now. Because, you know, when you're able, and I want to describe this, like when you're able to work through the context of the difference between what you hope for versus what you find, it allows for those points of adaptability. It allows for that space to be able to refine the meaning upon something, right? And so I just keep on seeing that there's something about this energy that we're experiencing right now that allows for the context of exquisitely defining something that is energetically important to you. So they're saying like it's about like the refining of a manifestation goal, right? And often in those contexts of doing so, I keep on seeing that this is the like this is the energy that we work through as it relates to like I keep on hearing the difference between we talk a lot about this here. You know, healthy manifestation is not such that you force something to be something that it is not, right? we move towards moving towards a space of energetically healing as it relates to something that feels right. But that's why I see that there's a lot of those conversations, particularly for energy deep within divine union, because it's giving me a lot of that energy that almost articulates. It's saying to me like silk to steel lessons, which talks about the fact that one can always, and this has to do with the fact that the Taurus energy works through majesty, which is when you're trying to move something in accordance with the direction that you hope something moves towards, you do so with a courtesy, right? You don't force, you can't, I keep on hearing, you can't force majesty into a circumstance or situation, because when you try to force majesty, everything goes awry. Majesty is something that you create via the way that you navigate one's own sense of self, right? And so I keep on seeing that there's something about operating in the context of the higher self that is energetically majestic, because when you do so, you always allow yourself the ability to have a conditionality where something can change, but you're not yielding who you are for the sake of changing something, right? And that's what I keep on seeing here, that is very, like, that's what I meant about some of this like intensity that we're experiencing right now. And that's why I saw even now there's like conversations occurring, and I'm not surprised with all of this energy that we saw with the warrior partnerships deep within divine union, which is the definition of majestic is one that doesn't feel like you have to move away from the alignment of the self or the ego in the process. Because we talk about here that the ego isn't something that we shed entirely, that having a healthy relationship with the ego is being able to be in a space of an ego that you're energetically proud of, right? It's the awareness of the self to a certain degree. Now that brings us to the energy coming into divine union. For a lot of the energy coming into divine union right now, I just keep on seeing that there's a lot of this, like I almost feel like there's some energy that is, I told you, they're going into high priestess. They're exploring the self in the way that they haven't before. They're thinking about things. And this is why sometimes we have this strange, they're saying sometimes we have this strange occurrence that happens, that when we move into a point of stability, we suddenly feel like we're in a state of crisis. Why do we feel like we're in a state of crisis? Because often the moment that we come into a stabilization point, all of the anxiety and trepidation that we were carrying feels like it's finally safe to express itself. And so I see that there's a lot of this energy right now in coming into divine union that's going through the heart opening, but the first thing that comes out is the pain of what it is that you're carrying. And I keep on hearing this energy say finally, and the reason they're saying finally is because finally it's safe to feel it, right? Finally it's safe to heal it, because you can't heal something until you're in a place that it's safe to do so. While for a lot of this energy in separation right now, combination between our death card in its reversal and our Four of Swords in its reversal, yeah, the thing about it, and I'm sorry, the reason I keep on kind of like laughing a bit when I'm reading for the energy in separation right now is simply because there's a little bit, I keep on reading, there's a little bit of this like never again modality that's occurring right now in separation, which is like, I almost hear it's like the song of the self that's a riot song is what I keep on hearing. It's like the song of the self that is a riot song, because this is the energy that says, I'm done pretending, right? Because this is the energy that's almost articulating and saying the healthy energetic relationship won't be one that I feel like I have to perform the act of the self. I don't have to feel like I'm performing the space of what another person aspires me to be, but being able to be in one's own authenticity, which is not the energy that says that they're not trying to perfect the self, but they're not allowing, like, that's why I see that a lot of this energy is like, there's a messiness here is what I keep on seeing. There's a lot of this like hashing it out, everything on the table. Like there's almost like a little bit of this like worst part first thing that's happening for some of these energies in separation, because this is like, I told you, like there's a little bit of this energy that's coming into this like take it or leave it apart, like approach for relationships because they've had it. But it's in the minute that they have it that the higher self goes, they finally got it. Right? It's like the energy. It's like the minute that I told you, sometimes you move towards manifestations, you get the ick, right? You get the ick for something. So the energy is like, I've had it trying to be something I'm not. And the higher self goes, oh, thank goodness. Continuing to get clarification between our Four of Wands and its reversal in combination with our Empress card in its reversal. And this is having different impact right now on masculine and feminine energy. One card to clarify. There it is. There's that 10 of Pentacles. It's when this is when people stop being polite and they start being real. Like it's like and that's why that's the only reason I'm laughing about this here, because this is the energy that in the moment that they stop being polite, because this is what the higher self is saying. They were saying, who are you being polite for? Right? This is why the higher self is laughing at that, because it's like when we come into that space when we're trying to be energetically polite, right? It's like that moment that says, what did you think about you? What did you think? Like the higher self says, if everything about you is a gift, what part of you were you so worried that another person would see that they would judge you so heavily on? Right? And that's why I keep on hearing that there's a lot of this energy that's like, like it's giving, like I'm telling you, it's like magician to ragamuffin, right? It's like the energy that's like working in that context. And then in that moment, I keep on hearing this energy that's like building into the context saying it's a relief to talk to someone who is energetically real. Like it's almost like I keep on seeing that this, and I think it's funny because I almost feel like this energy is like intentionally trying to push each other away from like trying to push energy away from them. But in the moment that they're trying to push energy away from them by being their authenticity, and they encounter that beautiful moment that another person just likes them exactly, like they're like, I love this. Like this is the energy that suddenly goes, what? Right? Because it's the forgiveness of being the authentic self that is found in the moment that we get sick of living up to others' energetic expectations, right? It's the energy that's finally giving someone an opportunity to love them there. While continuing to get clarification between our Empress energy in combination with our Five of Swords in its upright. One card to clarify, please. There's that. Oh, I love it. We love a devil card in its reversal here, right? I told you the funny thing about and we got to so, and this is why this is why so much of this energy right now, just talking into the energy coming into divine union. So I'll start with the energy and separation again. That is that's what I keep on hearing the higher self saying to the energy and separation, when the energy is like, I'm not, forget it. I'm just going to be myself. And the higher self's like, why is that a bad thing? Because it is the reminder, right? And this is it. When we let go of the illusion of rejection, right? When we let go of the sense of fearing that another person will encounter us in their authenticity and not like it, like that's the gift. Because why would you want to, and like this is what the higher self says, why would you want to be in an energetic connection with someone who has a distaste for your authenticity? Why would you want to be in an energetic connection with someone that has a distaste for your authenticity? This is why the rejection is the energetic illusion. Because when we're in our authenticity, and that doesn't mean that we're perfect, but we're energetically proud of who we are, we're proud of the work that we've done on ourselves, and another person has distaste for it. This is what we talk about when we talk about, not building in. It's not about not caring, right? It's about being good, right? And this is, I told you, the beauty of some of that Mercury-Venus retrograde, which was the grit on the mirror of the self, right? Like when we feel that others cast that to us, but we're good with ourselves, we don't agonize over it. we use it to like help clarify something for ourselves. We take it into consideration, but we don't overly correct for another person's opinion of us. Because when we are building into the context of being appreciative for ourselves, it's like it's the energy that says that we don't seek that outside the self, we find it within, and we love ourselves in the context of that journey. So that's why I keep on seeing that there's something about these new energetic connections that are forming at this time that feel very refreshing, because it's the energy that sees someone who's gone through the hard work of appreciating, of building into that intentionality, right? And in the moment that you find that forgiveness for the self, that is the forgiveness for the self that extends to all those around you. Now, for masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now, this is why this feels like a very emotionally tumultuous time, because this is the energy that's finally reached a point of balance in their own partnership, right? That chariot energy finding the stabilization of reliability and counterpart. And when we build that sense of conscientiousness, that firm ground where we don't need to worry or agonize all the time on building into the sense of creating stability and partnership, it allows us to go inside the self. But often when we go inside the self, the first thing we find there is all of the pain that we've been carrying. Right? It can often be like, this is why sometimes we find balance and the first thing we encounter on the journey within the self is agony, right? Because clarification between our 4 of Cups and our 7 of Swords, it's the point of energetic, sometimes at the moment that you reach into the arrival point of the healthy relationship, you suddenly realize how jagged the departure was and everything that you were enduring before that moment. Right? It's the context of, I mean, again, I'm telling you, this Jupiter and Gemini energies, like Jupiter and and Gemini keeps on reminding us, right? Like the overwhelming, like the overwhelm of experiencing something that you didn't know you were missing until you found it is often where you suddenly recognize where the grief was springing from. So that's why we keep on seeing that there's a lot of that energy there, like working through a lot of that trauma that they didn't even know that they were carrying. While for a lot of this energy deep within divine union, clarification between our 7 of Swords in combination with our 10 of Pentacles in its reversal, we've got here our 4 of Pentacles in its upright. This is the Temperance energy. And I like to point this out. I love we love a Temperance card here. Because the Temperance card, and I like to point this out, and we're going to talk about it a bit when we go into the study of the Temperance card, is, you know, when you want to move something in the direction that you hope, you dip your toe in it, right? You take the temperature, right? And this is why we say, like, it's, oh my God. Sorry, I'm just laughing because, so the first thing that, so the first thing that happens, the first thing that happens when we're trying to heal something is we take the temperature, because we take the temperature to see if another person wants to heal something. Because the only way, we talk about this here, even if your intentions are well, you can't heal something unless another person is in the same modality of wanting to heal it. This is why you take the temperature by extending the olive branch, because when you extend the olive branch, you take the temperature in relationality to how another person receives it. And that is effectively the identification point of the Temperance energy in relationality to another person's adaptability to try to fix something. And that's why I see that for a lot of the energy right now, the counterparts working in that context, if they're experiencing anything that feels like a discordant note, this is the energy that feels the gift of the true mirror of counterpart that is able to say to one another, because you're in that clarity of the gift that you give each other and acting as clear mirrors. Is it me? Am I doing something that's affecting the temperature, or is this something I'm experiencing outside of the self? And it's that clarity that comes through as it relates to the healthy partnership. This is why it's so important in partnership to build in the context of not having too big an ego, because we've talked about this here. The problem with having too big an ego is nobody tells you when you're moving in the wrong direction, right? Because clarification between our 10 of Pentacles in combination with our Devil card in its reversal. the gift of being, this has been an overarching theme over the last few days. If you've been joining us, the gift of being kind is often not, is the difference between kind and nice, right? And what is the difference? What is the difference between kind and nice? We've talked a lot about this here. When we're energetically kind, we work in the context, and this is why I keep on hearing that this is the vow. Like, this is the vow that the energy deep within divine union is articulating to each other, which is always to be kind, even if it's not energetically nice. Because when you are being energetically kind, right, you say, I will always give you the truth in a way that I will try to help you. Even if that truth is something that is heavy to bear, right? That is the energy that says, I will energetically bear it with you. Because that ability of being energetically kind is one that, again, welcome to the Taurus energy, working in the majestic space, is one that allows for that adaptability. But when we're building into, and this is why it's so important that we heal the wounds of the ego, because often the problem with having a big ego is that others do not feel the ability to talk to you, right? Because when your ego is too big and you're not in a space that you can bear kindness, you take everything protectively, you don't want to hear anything, right? Because the ego is always working in that sense of protecting the self. Often having too big an ego creates a force field where you don't get to hear anything energetically true. You just have others who pad it because they don't want to upset you, right? So it's like it's like the earmuff energy, because you can't hear anything, and then the energy around you works like circumnavigates you instead of building with the context of working with you. So that's why I keep on hearing that there's something so beautiful about the delicacy of those conversations that are happening for a lot of the energy deep within divine union, because this is the energy that builds into the heart. This is why it's warrior energy, because it's building in the heart of partnership that says the kindness is such that even if you're doing something that isn't in alignment, that we can work through it energetically together, right? And that's why I see this energy that's saying, don't go easy on me. The energy saying to one another, I promise never to go easy on you on that journey. Right? Like, give it to me straight. Like, this is the energy saying this to one another deep within divine union, which goes, give it to me straight, Doc. just give it to me straight. While for masculine and feminine energy that is like coming into divine union, this is a lot of that energy that is going, this is a lot of trauma release right now. And I would not be surprised if there's a lot of energy right now that is coming into divine union and is saying, why am I crying? Where's all this coming from? Because I keep on seeing that I keep on hearing, once we reach a stable environment, it unlocks trauma, right? When the body suddenly realizes and goes, we're safe now. There it all goes. Like we're safe now. Often that's when, like, finally the energy has the ability to let you express the things that you've been holding on to. All of that stress, it can sometimes feel very overwhelming in that moment, because you're like, I didn't even know I was holding on to that. I didn't know. I felt like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like the floodgates that open, because like that is the energy that suddenly has finally reached that context of stability that makes them recognize the unsafety they were feeling every moment prior to entering that level of stability. While for masculine and feminine energy, but even here, I see a lot of that energy, like, again, it's the energy going, it's okay, it's a good release. The energy's going, it needed to. It feels, I keep on hearing the difference between a breakthrough is often found in the arms that hold you as you navigate something that would previously feel like a breakdown. The wings that carry one through something when you're able to finally articulate upon something, right? So I feel like there's a lot of that kind of energy right now. While for masculine and feminine energy in separation, I'm just going to keep on laughing as we keep on going through a lot of this, like, magician energy in separation. Because it's just more of what I'm seeing, clarification between the 8 of Cups in its reversal and the 4 of Pentacles in its upright. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with, there it is, our Ace of Wands in its reversal. I keep on just seeing, and I just keep on seeing there's a lot of energy in separation that is saying to each other respectfully, your feelings about me are not my responsibility, right? And because we talk about this here, because when, like, that's the gift, that's a gift, right? That is not caring, but it's understanding that when we're energetically good with ourselves, right? Like, look, you might meet me and you might absolutely hate me. I might just, like, trigger the heck out of you. But that's the thing. If I can't go in there and I can't change that, if there's nothing I'm doing except being in my vulnerability and being myself, if I'm not doing anything like intentionally to you, you know what I mean? Like if that's a note that you could give me and we can work on it. But if we're in our authenticity and another person is bothered by that, then we don't take it personally. We just kind of embody and accept the circumstances being as they are, because, and I need to tell you why, because when we're in a space of deep healing and another person triggers us, we ask ourselves one thing: why does that bother me? Right? And when we're doing that deeper investigation, there's either one of two answers. If there's something that another does that bothers us and it's coming from the higher self goes, well, let's sit down, let's talk about it. Let's figure out what that is. I'm happy to tell you what something is there that's upsetting, versus often those moments where it's the ego, right? And the ego goes, I don't want to talk about it, right? And when we're not in a space, and this is what happens, and this is why, again, we understand that we're all effectively mirrors to each other, because that moment where another person is feeling that, that upsetness, right? This is the energy that says the only emotion within another person that is our responsibility is confusion. Because confusion, when articulated properly, can always have the responsibility of clarity being brought forth, right? So this is why I keep on seeing that a lot of that energy is moving from that space of authenticity, because this is the energy that says, if you meet me in my intentionality and it's not for you, that's okay. You're not for everybody. When we're in exquisite energy, we are not everyone's cup of tea because we're specialties, right? We don't take it personally because we don't hold our determination of our worth based on what another person thinks about us, right? It's more about how we think, like it's about the condition of understanding the ability to love the self. Thank you. Thank you, Mercury retrograde and Venus retrograde, like putting us all through the tumble dry process. And that's why I keep on seeing that there's a little bit, like I keep on hearing, like there's energy right now. And this is what I meant about that Taurus new moon pushing through. Like this is the energy that says the only way I can find the energy for me is by embodying my authenticity. And the way the song you will hear when you're embodying your authenticity is, you're not really for me. The song you will hear when you are embodying your authenticity is, you're not really for me. And we're not upset. We're not upset when we hear that. We're not upset when we experience that, because we just accept that that's the circumstance by which we find one another. And so I feel like there's something very beautiful, I think, that's happening right now for a lot of the energy in separation, because it's the energy that is finding that bravery to put themselves forward, but recognizing the bravery isn't trying to get someone to energetically like them. It's just not taking it too personally if they don't, right? Continuing to get clarification because why? The energy's saying, your feelings about me, if I'm moving intentionally, are not my responsibility. And that's a gift. Continuing to get clarification between our Four of Pentacles in combination with our Six of Pentacles in its upright. One card to clarify. Clarification coming through right now. Boom! Look at that energy here. This is the Tower. Man, this, like, here's the thing. And I mean, here's, like, it's not a negative tower, right? It's not a negative tower. I know you guys see this card and I know you start quaking in your boots, but it's not about the sense of what comes down, but working through what we're trying to intentionally move out of the way of ourselves, right? And here's the thing about it, like when you're working on the self to a certain extent, you realize you're not energetically perfect. And that's the energy that I keep on seeing, is working on the space of understanding the adaptation point of I keep on seeing the good note versus the unnecessary note, right? And how can you usually tell a good note? You did something and it didn't really sit well with me. Well, that's something positive. That's something that can be talked about, right? The experience of being able to work through something that allows for that adaptability of changing, right? So I keep on hearing like a lot of these energies in separation, they're finding this, like, I always hear this energy saying like bad part first, like talking through like whatever it is that's uncomfortable, like almost like out trying to out mortify each other is almost what I'm seeing for some of these like new relationships that are happening here. Because this is the energy that, like, in the process of doing this, and I got to tell you, the reason I'm seeing this is there's a lot of this energy that is in separation, that is healing from relationships. I told you that whim energy, or that relationship where someone only comes to you to be energetically inspired. And often what happens when someone's trying to come to you and be energetically inspired, and you try to move into your authenticity, and they just pull away because they go, that's not very dream of you. And this is the energy that says everything about me is the energetic dream. I don't exist in the space of fulfilling another's dream. This is the context of what it is to be in that space. And I keep on hearing, the funny thing is, even though it's in magician energy, it's an illusion-free zone. That's why it's in a magician energy, because it's an illusion-free zone. Like it's just it's antithetical to that. It's the energy that says I'm not trying to build into the context of the energetic, like of being another person's energetic dream. This is what it looks like to be able to build together. And this is why, again, if these are energies of healing from relationships where another person kept on trying to be like, well, I'm not moving towards you because you're not perfect yet. This is the energy that's healing by saying, I'm perfect just the way I am. Perfect is not something that you hold above another person's head to try to get them to move in a way that you feel is aspirational. Perfect is something that we make together. And so that's why I keep on seeing that there's a lot of that energy that is like working in that context, because it's the energy that almost feels like they're eager to disappoint one another, and that's why they never will. Right? Because they're not trying. They're like, it's like the energy that's almost like, again, I told you, it's like they're putting everything on the table and then they're clearing the table at the same time, because it's the energy that says, I'm sorry to disappoint you. I keep on hearing they come together and they say, I'm sorry to disappoint you. And that's why they never will, because that is the energy that sees someone leading with a feeling of saying, I'm sorry if something about me is going to disappoint you. And someone says, everything that you're showing me seems beautiful. Who made you feel like that was something that would be an energetic disappointment? While for masculine and feminine coming into divine union, this is why I feel like something about this heart opening right now is very energetically emotional. There's a lot, I feel like for a lot of the energy right now coming into divine union, I can hear this energy going, why am I feeling so emotional about something that happened so long ago? And the energetic body, the etheric and spiritual body saying, because this is the first time you're feeling safe enough to express it, right? Like often we don't realize how much we're carrying until, this is why sometimes we heal from trauma, not to make room for more trauma, but to be able to navigate the joy. Because often when we come into the space of joy, finally the trauma feels like it's safe to express itself. So I can see a lot of this energy like working through this context of like emotionally releasing something in a certain way, but almost in that space of saying it feels good. It's like, it doesn't even feel good to get it off the chest. It's just the energy that says, I didn't realize I've been carrying that for so long, right? While for masculine and feminine energy deep within divine union, this is, I know it's going to sound wild, but these two cards to a certain extent are temperance energy. Because temperance energy isn't about, temperance energy is not about compassion in all things. Compassion in all things is a lack of caring. right? The space of being energetically flexible. And this is beautiful because we've been having a lot of that message that says that when we're energetic compassionate, we turn the other cheek, but then we continue moving in our own direction, right? That the compassion does not require us to lower our energetic standards for the sake of compassion, but we honor ourselves by doing what we energetically can. And that's why we move into the space of not insisting, right? Because we recognize and identify what we find there. And sometimes it's uplifting, right? Sometimes it's energetically supportive. Sometimes we feel that viability of saying, yes, something can change. Something is adaptable, right? Something can heal versus, sometimes it can't. Sometimes it's just more of the energetic same. And we feel that moment and it can feel, and I keep on hearing, disappointed, but not devastated. Right? And I feel like that has a lot to do with the fact that we see Saturn and Venus moving into Aries together right now. They're like almost on top of each other because Saturn and Venus almost reminds us that healing, like I keep on hearing, healing is not linear, right? And this is why when you're on a spiritual path, you're very patient upon things because you understand that everything can change in time. And sometimes those moments you look at and you say, that needs more time. Maybe that day will never come. But I keep on hearing that the beautiful thing about that is when you're like, it's the context of never feeling like one is waiting, right? You're actively working. It's not being in a space of being in the space of working on the self is, and I keep on hearing this, it has to do with like the sacred breath of partnership, which is the adaptability, the changes that we make for one another that's met with progress, that allows for that extension of continuing forward. And that's why I see that that's the energy that always holds that sense of compassion in terms of recognizing that another person can change, but not holding their breath about it. You don't hold your breath. You continue forward, right? And you find, and I keep on hearing, because peace is made. It's never found. And so this is a lot of the energy that continues to work in that way, because this is the energy that says to themselves, am I moving in accordance with the peace that I'm trying to make? And that's the energy that says it's not conditional in terms of what you find around the self. It's something that you energetically embody. And that's why I keep on hearing that the counterparts are having those hard conversations with the self. Because sometimes when we hit that pathwork of resistance, we say to one another, is this something that I can change within, or is this something that I'm experiencing without? And the promise that I see of the counterparts is when we build into a place where we're able to navigate criticism, right? This is why we heal our ego. When we're in the space where we can have someone tell us something that is important, it allows for that adaptability to change something within the self, right? And I keep on hearing that that's the energy. Like, this is beautiful. Like, this is the energy of temperance within divine union that says to one another, for you, I work hard. Like, for you, I do that work. For you, I always want you to give it to me straight, because that is the energy of the counterpart that says, you are my clear mirror. So that ability of giving me something straight helps me see something within myself that I could not see. It is the promise. When we have each other's backs, the way we truly have each other's backs is by always helping to recognize each other's blind spots. I'm going to say that again because that's important. The healthy relationship is always one that you can have a hard conversation where someone can talk to you, because in that space, someone feels the gift of being able to show you an energetic blind spot. And by showing each other an energetic blind spot, this is how we have one another's backs. Final card for today's spread between our Ace of Wands in its reversal in combination with our Tower card in its upright. Final card for today. Boom! Oh, man. I love the tarot, man. I just love it. Can we just take a moment? How great is the tarot? Here we are talking about the Temperance card, talking about the Temperance card. Talking about the Temperance card, and the Temperance card is like, I was just waiting to have a nice grand entrance. I was just waiting. Who, me? Were you guys calling on me? So we have here, for those listening to the podcast, we just pulled out the Temperance card in its reversal. And that's what it's really beautiful, because it feels like a lot of this energy, like a lot of the work that we're doing right now in this Taurus new moon energy, and we're going to get back to that space of understanding, healing our relationship to change, which again, for us being in Taurus season and working through that is very difficult, because I know for those with Taurus placements, you get it, right? Change can be a very frustrating thing, because in order to work through the context of the adaptability of the self, right? Being able to work through the context of what it is that we're trying to, the change that we're trying to engender in the world around us requires the ability to move into uncomfortable places. Don't make a mistake. Healthy spirituality is not just what feels good all the time. Healthy spirituality is not just what makes you feel like you get a little pat on the head, right? That's not spirituality. That's often righteousness, right? Righteousness is like, look how special I am. No, healthy spirituality can be really difficult, because it's often, the good spiritual journey is one that you go, I got a lot of work to do, right? I got a lot of work to do. But the reason that you've got a lot of work to do, the reason you can tell you're on a good spiritual journey, the song you will hear is, I got a lot of work to do. Why? Because you know your assignment. It's an assignment. Okay? It's an assignment. And an assignment means there's always work to be done. And so when we're in that energetic space, we don't shy away from the work on the self. We don't look away from things that are ugly to see in ourselves, right? We turn towards them. We encounter those moments. We look towards them, because in the space of doing so, we find ourselves there. We understand ourselves better, right? It's not about, and I keep on seeing, like, that was a bit of the gift of that Mercury-Venus retrograde in combination. The harsh light, if you will, right? That we don't shy away from. But it's often in that space that we do that work. And this is why this is having a different impact depending on where we find ourselves on the frequency cycles. This is why I keep on getting the fact that the energy in separation right now is in magician energy, because the energy, what is the magician energy saying in separation? No illusions. No illusions, No illusions, because this is the energy that says, if I'm good, and this is the energy that says, I do the work to understand the self. And if you've got a note for me that's something you think can help me move better towards that's great. But I'm not going to overly invest in trying to change your opinion on how you're navigating the energy that you're encountering, because this is the energy that says, I'm proud. Everything you see here is intentional, right? And that's why I see that a lot. I keep on seeing that this energy is like coming towards each other and being like, I'm not trying. And then the person goes, you're amazing. Because they're like, because you're not trying. What happens when you stop trying? Who's going to say it? What happens when you stop trying? You start being, right? That's what's happening right now for a lot of that energy. That's the energy that's moved into it, because that's the energy that goes, the minute I stop. And that's why the higher self's going, they stopped trying and they started being. And they allowed another to allow them, to love them there. While for masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union, this is why this is the energy that's finally finding solid ground, opening up the heart space, and they're encountering all of the pain that they've been carrying. And that's why it's hard, because when you open that heart space, the first thing that comes out is often the pain. It can feel very emotional. And it's a lot of that. I could see a lot of that energy going, I didn't even realize I was carrying that. I'm sorry, I didn't know I was so emotional about that. And this is the energy that says, to one another, you're emotional about it, and you didn't know you were emotional about it because you finally feel safe to express it. So there's a moment that this feels like the deepening of an intense, intense intimacy, because this is the energy that recognizes that they're sharing things that they never could before, because they feel that level or degree of safety. While for masculine and feminine energy deep within divine union, this is the temperance card, which I think is really amusing, because the temperance card says you can turn the other cheek, but you don't have to stick around to get slapped. That's actually what temperance says. Temperance says keep your chin up, which says you try to move in accordance with something, But then you say respectfully for another, like that limitation point of compassion is one that articulates and says to a certain extent that we always move something in accordance with what it is that we aspire it, but we don't lower our energetic standard to try to accommodate for it. Right? It's like I keep on hearing it's perfect pitch kind of energy, which is like, why is it perfect pitch? Because perfect pitch is articulating the aspiration of where you hope something to go, trying to be receptive, but then also not trying to force things to be something that they're not, right? So there's a lot of that energy that is almost articulating the space. I keep on hearing extending the olive branch but not cutting down the tree is the temperance energy, because it says you move things in the direction that you hope them to go. You're patient that they might change, but you don't try to force that energetic progression. And that's why I keep on seeing for a lot of the energy deep within divine union, working through an energetic hurdle and having that conversation and saying, give it to me straight. Is this something that I need to change in myself, or is this something I'm experiencing on the outside? This is the gift of the partner that says, I always promise to tell you, to help you see an energetic blind spot if it's there. I'm not going to just try to work in the space of appeasing you. There's nothing worse than to be in a relationship where your partner feels that they're too afraid to tell you something, so instead just works to try to appease you. Bottom of the deck on this reading, there it is, right? The 10 of Cups in its reversal. Because that's why this is why the only way you can't stumble into a perfect relationship if you haven't done the work on yourself. If you haven't done the work on yourself, the relationship will not necessarily build into we create the environment that surrounds us. And that ability, I keep on hearing, the ability of taking a hard note. You know what I mean? The ability of working in this is why it's important that we heal from the false impression that perfection is something that we find and not something that we're moving towards. Because the irony is, when we are perfect, we feel like we are failing. When we are perfect, we are perfected when we reach for perfection. But when we feel we're perfect, we're probably really off of our path. Okay? Because perfect is never found. Perfect is never found. It's always reached for. We are perfected in the art of reaching towards perfection. And that's why I see that for a lot of the energy, like coming into divine union, I see this energy that says to one another, you're perfect. And the energy goes, I'm not perfect. And the energy goes, yes, you are. Because you're always reaching for it. You don't assume that you're sitting on it, right? It's something that perfect is not a seat. It's a stretch. Is what I keep on hearing. Perfect is not a seat. It's something you reach for. So I see that a lot of that energy says that work, and that's the energy that says to one another, I promise, as you're reaching for that, I will always energetically protect you. Because that is the energy that says by being kind instead of nice, right? That in that space of reaching, that is the safety or security of telling someone if they feel like they're moving too much off of their own pathwork, right? While for masculine and I keep on hearing that's what it's temperance energy, because this is the energy that says I will protect you as you reach. It's like they're holding the ladder for each other. For masculine and feminine energy, that is coming into divine union, right? A lot of that energy that's coming into divine union is saying to me, like, this is a lot of the energy that's going through a lot of emotional turmoil right now. And there's a little bit of confusion there, because this is the energy saying, I didn't even know I felt like this. But that's because when we reach certain levels of safety, suddenly all of this like trauma we've been carrying sometimes comes out of the woodwork, right? It's like I didn't even know I felt like that, because that's the energy saying, and this is the counterpart recognizing and saying, you never felt safe enough to express it. Right? And that's why I keep on hearing the energy say it's an honor to hold you as that comes free, because that's the energy that says that you feel safe enough to express it. While for masculine and feminine, that is in separation, I just keep on seeing this energy going, I'm tired of being nice. They were in fact wonderful. Like, I'm tired of being polite. They were actually the politest person on the planet, right? Because when the energy Like I just keep on seeing that there's a lot of energy and separation right now that's going, I'm going into my villain era, and being like, are you going into your villain era because you're just not, you're just letting yourself be, like, instead of trying to, like, is the energy, like the higher self is going, it's just, okay, if that's what you need to tell yourself, like the higher self's going, if that's what you need to tell yourself, if you need to tell yourself, I'm going into my villain era by not caring what other people think about me, the higher self is like, whatever you need to do, buddy, whatever you need to do. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you so much for being here and experiencing it with us. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can do so on my site. Please keep in mind, if you book a private reading with me, it is a 2-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my site. So I encourage you to do it there. A couple of updates before we move into personal readings today. First and foremost, thank you to everyone who attended our recent class on the Hangman card. Our next class will be held on Wednesday, May 14th. At 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. We will be continuing our studies into the tarot with a focus on the Death card. It's not that spooky, I promise. You can join that class program. If you'd like to become a part of our class program, all you need to do is mosey on over to my Substack and become a paid subscriber. Your paid subscription to my Substack is your ticket of entry into our live classes each and every month. You will also, as a monthly subscriber, have access to over 9 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church class program. Now, it's not necessary to catch up. I will be doing my best in giving you an update on everything that we have studied thus far. But the material is there. And now is actually a great time if you'd like to become a part of the program, because if you wanted to catch up, you would have about, you'd have about 3 classes per week between now and before our next class. You'll also have access to a one-on-one chat with me and the other students to ask any questions that you may have in relation to anything that we are learning or have currently studied. And if you become a founding member, not only will you receive a discount on the full year's worth of classes, but you will also receive a complimentary one-on-one mentorship class with me, wherein I will assess where you are on your personal tarot journey and give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize those classes to the best of your advantage towards your tarot goals moving forward. One of the things I try to do in these classes, you'll also have access to the full library of the Tarot Church, which is access to over 13 hours worth of material in an ever-expanding library. One of the things I tried to do in these classes was make them accessible to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's definitely something there for everyone. Don't let your lack of experience or your robust experience prevent you from joining us on these classes. And even if you don't become a paid subscriber to my Substack, I would encourage you to follow me there to stay up to date on any new offerings or services. I also post my weekly newsletter there, which will let you know about my in-person events as well as my online live schedule. I also post my Mystic Meditation articles there, which will give you updates on what we've been experiencing energetically week by week. I also want to let you guys know that on top of my standard life path readings, I also offer mentorship classes. These are for any of my clients seeking a more personalized educational experience with me. I take a very limited number of students for this reason, as those classes are focused on each individual's personal spiritual goals and journey work. Those classes can be purchased on an individual level or as a monthly class series, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits. Also, for my clients seeking more consistent weekly tarot support, I'm very happy to offer weekly tarot insight packages. That is a package of 4 30-minute readings, again, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits. I also want to let you guys know that I'm now very happy to offer dream interpretation readings. You can purchase those per dream or as a series. I would encourage, if you purchase the dream package, that you start to keep a dream journal, as we will meet weekly or bi-weekly with that journal and utilize the tarot to understand the key themes and messages coming towards you in the dream space. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing in these messages, and we will do this again tomorrow.